And let's bring in Geraldo Rivera, who joins us this morning from Telluride, Colorado. Geraldo, good to see you this morning.
Good morning, Geraldo.
Thank you, Clayton. Hi,
what time is it there?
How are you doing?
Are you 3 hours behind us?
It's pre-dawn hours. It's 6:30, so about a half hour before sunrise.
You are a good man.
Let's get your take on this. You heard Devin Nunes, representative, go to the White House and lay out what he says is a smoking gun on being spied, the Trump administration, the Trump transition team being spied on by the Obama administration. Democrats are up in arms that he didn't share that with them. What's your take on this? Are we going to see a big bombshell later this afternoon?
Putting aside the sequence of Devin Nunes' revelation of the incidental collection of Trump and his associates as they were surveilling others due to this FISA warrant, putting aside how he did it and the protocols that he violated, I sat on that same couch last week, Clayton, and I said that probably what the President of the United States was talking about in that now infamous tweet where he said that President Obama, sad, sick, had been surveilling him or wiretapping him. What he probably meant was surveillance in the more general sense, and that it was picked up as incidental to spying on somebody else who was talking to somebody in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there is no doubt that Trump was surveilled during the campaign, during the transition. For all I know, even to this, even to now, the question is two things: what do we do about it? Is the House, the Intel Committee, the appropriate place to investigate? Or do we need a special prosecutor? And who's leaking all the information? I think those things are very, very relevant questions.
Well, I appreciate the first part of your statement, putting aside the sequence, because the left and the media, they're obsessing over who he told when and what aspect of it. Was it proper? But if he has indeed gotten information from a whistleblower and then the NSA confirms it today with what they give the House Intel Committee, what does the sequence matter? Isn't this finally the evidence everyone's been clamoring for and looking for?
I absolutely agree with you, Pete. The question is Nunes and his committee now, since he has gone to President Trump with these revelations, with this bombshell, is his committee, or is indeed the Senate Intelligence Committee, the appropriate venue to really explore whether or not there was collusion between people close to President Trump, indeed President Trump or candidate Trump himself, and the Russians? Who does that? I think you need a special prosecutor. Put it aside, get it out of the House, get it out of the United States Senate, because it's clear that this thing is getting mucked up with Republicans and Democrats, and the right is all about, oh, these leaks, damn these leaks. The left is all about what the leaks are revealing. I don't think that these parties, because they are so dysfunctional and hate each other so much, are an appropriate place for us to find the truth of what happened, what Russia did to influence our election.
How important is it to find out actually who did this? Remember when Trey Gowdy was grilling James Comey, and he was saying, could any of these people within the Obama administration, could they have been the one that unmasked, that pulled the cover off the name? Could it have been Ben Rhodes, the former White House advisor? Could it have been Susan Rice? Could it have been Brennan? Could it have been Sally Yates? Could it have been Loretta Lynch? And all of those, the FBI director said, yes, 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 it could have been them. And then today we had Marie Harf on the show, and we asked, should President Obama be subpoenaed? Do you think that should happen?
Well, I definitely think that every relevant person should be subpoenaed, but by whom, Ainsley? I think that's the question. Does the House do it? Does the Senate do it? Does the special prosecutor do it? Once you do it, here is the peril for everybody involved. As of right now, I don't see any crime. I don't see any proof of collusion. But once you take someone like President Obama, or indeed President Trump, and you put them under oath, or more realistically, people like Ben Rhodes or some of these others involved, like General Mike Flynn, once you put them under oath and they say something, and then maybe it's what they thought at the time, or they make a misstatement, that's where they get it. They don't get it on the act itself. They get it on the cover-up. It's never the crime. It's always the cover-up. That's where the peril exists.
And if they didn't do anything
wrong,
wrong,
that's why everybody's resisting this.
They shouldn't fear it if they didn't do anything wrong.
Well, I don't know about that. It's pretty dicey once you're under oath, talking to a federal panel. Remember, Bill Clinton didn't go down for any of his grand schemes. He went down because he lied in a deposition in Paula Jones' lawsuit about sexual harassment. He lied in a lawsuit, in a deposition. That's why he was impeached. It's the little things that mean a lot. That's where the peril now exists for both the current Trump administration, his former aides, Manafort, Flynn, and so forth, and any of the Democrats.
That's my point.
That's
my point. He did something wrong,
and he got caught. I don't know anything about him.
Geraldo, I want to get your take on this.
Just ask, did you do so-and-so? And he says, I didn't do, or I didn't remember. You lied. That's it. You go down on perjury.
Geraldo, as a lawyer, I want to ask you about this next story. I don't know if you caught Tucker's show last night where he had the lawyer on, the defense attorney, who is now defending one of the illegal immigrants charged with attacking that 14-year-old girl in Rockville, Maryland, perhaps raping her in the bathroom along with another illegal immigrant. I'm sure you watched that. Let's take a look at some of that if we could. Play it now. No, we don't have the, so when Tucker interviewed and talked to this particular defense attorney last night on his show, he asked him, if your 14-year-old daughter would you feel comfortable with sending your 14-year-old daughter to that school? How can you, as a defense attorney, take on this case? I'm sure you watched that. What are your thoughts as an attorney? How would you have handled that?
Well, I think that, first of all, I say to Tucker, my friend Tucker, who's excellent at what he does, you have to be very careful when you start invoking God as your witness, and as God says this and that. It's almost as if he was saying it's a sin for you, Mr. Attorney, to represent this defendant. And I think that's very, very dangerous. It harkens back to, I think, a very distressing time. That lawyer has a right to represent that client. That client has a right to an attorney. And this is what I think about the big picture, though, Clayton. I think that this is what people understand, that I know that I'm out of sync with the majority of our audience when it comes to immigration reform and the whole immigration debate on how we handle the 11 million who are here without documentation and so forth. Rape is an outrageous, disgusting crime. It should be prosecuted with all the vigor, all the passion we have. We should bust these creeps and send them away for a long, long time. But I am very, very concerned when we're only involved or only concerned or only worried about rapes committed by undocumented immigrants, by illegal immigrants. There were 100 forcible rapes. There were 100 forcible rapes in Montgomery County, Maryland, in the last year we have statistics, 2014. 100 forcible rapes. There were 173,000 rapes in this country in one calendar year. Why is it that we're only concerned about this one rape because the perpetrator, is undocumented?
What about the UVA thing? What about that alleged rape that didn't ever happen? The mainstream media covered that in the course of 2 days for 11 minutes. Yeah. They didn't cover this one at all. So there are other rape cases that have been covered, Geraldo. He's a 14-year-old.
Ainsley, I think that this story is an appropriate story. But if you start using anecdotal evidence, then you have to look at the big picture. Is it true or is it not true that the illegal immigrants commit less crime than the citizens?
Is that true?
If it is true, then we have to look at it in the big picture. If you're talking about these rapists, these horrible rapists, and we want them in jail forever, and then we want to throw them out forever, then why don't you talk about their families that are law-abiding, or the ones that took the kid to school, or the one that
the mainstream media ignores this story completely for the other reason.
You're going to use this one example to make the big point.
But the mainstream media hasn't talked about this at all precisely because he's illegal. We're going to have to leave it right there.